Cat. The sorrowful beginning. The flickering lamp cast long shadows across the small, humble room where young John sat beside his dying father. The air was thick with the scent of burning oil and the quiet, labored breaths of the sick man. Outside, the wind howled through the trees as if mourning in advance. John clutched his father's frail hand, his own fingers trembling. He had no brothers or sisters, no mother to comfort him. She had passed years ago. Now his father, the only family he had left, lay on the verge of slipping away forever. "You have been a good son, John," his father whispered, his voice barely audible. His eyes, though clouded with pain, shone with tenderness. "God will guide you in this world. He will not abandon you." John swallowed hard, his throat tight. He wanted to speak, to tell his father how much he loved him, but the words stuck like thorns in his chest. With one last sigh, his father's grip loosened and his chest stilled. The room seemed to grow colder, the shadows deeper. John's breath hitched, and then the tears came, great heaving sobs that racked his body. He buried his face in the rough blanket, weeping until exhaustion overtook him. As he slept, slumped against the hard bedpost, a strange dream came to him. The dream of hope. In his dream, the sun shone brilliantly, warming his face. His father stood before him, strong and healthy, laughing as he had in John's earliest memories. Beside him stood a maiden so beautiful that John's breath caught. Her golden hair cascaded like sunlight, and a delicate crown rested upon her brow. "See what a bride you have won," his father said, smiling. "She is the loveliest maiden in all the world." The girl extended her hand, and John reached for her, only to wake with a start, his cheek pressed against the rough wood of the bed. The cold reality crashed over him. His father's lifeless body lay beside him. The lamp, now extinguished, the first pale light of dawn creeping through the window. "Oh, Father," John whispered, fresh tears spilling. The burial and the journey begins. The following days passed in a blur of grief. Neighbors came to help prepare the body, and soon the day of the funeral arrived. The church bells tolled mournfully as John walked behind the simple wooden coffin, his heart heavier than the earth they would soon lay upon it. When the last shovel of dirt had been placed and the final hymn sung, John stood alone by the fresh grave. Sun, warm and bright, seemed at odds with the sorrow in his chest. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and for a moment he imagined it was his father's voice. "Do not despair, my son. I am at peace." With a deep breath, John made a decision. He would not stay in this village where every path, every tree reminded him of his loss. He would seek his fortune in the wide world. He packed his few belongings, a spare shirt, a loaf of bread, and the last of his coins, and knelt once more at his father's grave. "Farewell," he murmured. "I will make you proud." The first night away. The world beyond his village was vast and unfamiliar. John walked until his feet ached, passing through fields and forests, villages and rivers. When night fell, he found himself in an open meadow, the stars glittering above like scattered diamonds. With no inn in sight, he made a bed of soft hay near a babbling brook. The earth was his mattress, the sky his blanket. As he lay there, the rustling leaves and chirping crickets lulled him into a peaceful slumber. He awoke to birdsong, the golden sun rising over the horizon. A church bell rang in the distance, calling the faithful to prayer. A good sign, John thought, brushing the straw from his clothes. He followed the sound, joining the villagers in their Sunday service. The familiar hymns comforted him, and when he noticed the neglected graves in the churchyard, he set to work tidying them, thinking of his own father's resting place. An old beggar sat by the church door, his eyes weary. Without hesitation, John pressed his last silver shilling into the man's palm. "Bless you, lad," the beggar croaked. John walked away lighter in coin, but richer in spirit. The storm and the strange coffin. That evening, dark clouds gathered. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and John quickened his pace, hoping to find shelter. Just as the first raindrops fell, he spotted a small church atop a hill. He dashed inside, sighing in relief as the door closed behind him. The flicker of candlelight revealed an eerie sight. A coffin stood open in the center of the aisle, a dead man within. John was not afraid. Death had touched him too recently for superstition. He knelt, said a prayer for the departed, and settled into a pew to sleep. But his rest was short-lived. Two rough-faced men crept into the church, their eyes gleaming with malice. "This miser owed us money," one growled. "Now he's dead, and we'll get nothing, unless we dump him outside like the dog he was." John leapt up. "You cannot," the men sneered. "And who'll stop us?" John hesitated, then pulled out his purse, all the money he had left. "Take this, let him rest in peace." The thieves snatched the coins, laughing, as they vanished into the storm. John gently closed the coffin lid. "Rest well, stranger." The mysterious companion. The next morning, as John continued his journey, a man fell into step beside him. He was tall, with a knowing smile and a traveler's worn boots. "Where are you headed, friend?" the stranger asked. "Into the wide world," John replied. "As am I. Shall we walk together?" And so they did. The stranger was clever, well-traveled, and full of strange tales. John liked him immediately. That evening, as they rested beneath an oak tree, an old woman hobbled past, her back bent under a bundle of firewood. Suddenly she slipped, crying out in pain. John rushed to help, but the stranger was quicker. From his pack, he produced a small box of salve. "Rub this on your leg," he said. "You'll walk as if never injured." The woman eyed him suspiciously. "And what do you want in return? Only those 3 fern stems in your apron?" She grumbled, but agreed. The moment the salve touched her skin, she sprang up, marveling at her own strength. As they walked away, John frowned. "Why did you want those ferns?" The stranger winked. "They make fine brooms. I have my quirks." John decided not to question it. The Wicked Princess. Days later, they reached a grand city, its towers gleaming like silver. But the people wore grim faces. "The king is kind," an innkeeper told them, "but his daughter, heaven protect us. She's a witch who toys with suitors. Any man may ask for her hand, but if he fails to guess her riddles, he loses his head." John's heart pounded. He had seen this princess before, in his dream. "I must try," he declared. His companion sighed. Then I shall help you." That night, while John slept, the stranger followed the princess as she flew on black wings to a mountain where a monstrous magician awaited. Hidden by magic, he listened as they plotted. "Ask him to guess your shoe," the magician cackled. "No man will think of that." The next day, when the princess posed her riddle, John answered, "Your shoe." The court gasped. The princess paled. She had never been bested before. The final riddle. Twice more, the stranger followed the princess, learning her secrets. The second riddle, a glove. The third, the magician's head. On the final night, the stranger did not merely watch, he struck. As the magician turned to leave, the stranger's blade flashed. The sorcerer's head rolled, his body tossed into the sea. The next morning, John presented the grisly answer. The princess trembled, defeated. "You have won. Tonight, we wed." But the stranger was not done. That evening, he gave John 3 swan feathers and a vial. "Fill a bath. When she enters, push her in. Dip her 3 times." John obeyed. The princess shrieked, twisting into a black swan, then a white one, and at last, her true self, freed from the curse. She looked at John with clear, loving eyes. "You have saved me." The happy ending. The wedding was a grand affair, lasting a month. The kingdom rejoiced, and in time, John became a wise and beloved king. But as the festivities waned, his companion approached. "My debt is repaid," he said softly. John frowned. "What debt? You once gave all you had to bury a stranger." "I was that man." And before John could speak, the traveler vanished, leaving behind only gratitude and a kingdom full of hope.